All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today, I have Jamie Kadanak with us. He is a community builder, networking nerd, venture associate at Capital Factory in the center of gravity for entrepreneurs in Texas. So welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Grateful to have you here. So the first one I got for you is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Nice. Let's see. I think I'll start with a theme that kind of overarches a lot of how I apply, my life and everything. So like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is something that I try to stick to. And that looks like a variety of things. So like moving to a new city, because I'm originally from the Northeast and I'm down here in Austin, Texas, not really knowing anybody and just kind of jumping down here and jumping into it. Applying for a job, not hearing anything, and then knowing they have an event coming up, showing up, meeting the hiring manager and saying, "Hey, did you hire anybody yet?" And then them saying no and really enjoying that.
Yeah.
That's how I got my current role. Or reaching out to somebody, you think you shouldn't because of some form of imposter syndrome or something like that. Just making sure that if you're comfortable, why are you comfortable? Is there a way that you can get uncomfortable to learn, experience something new, and just kind of go from there? Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense.
No, it does. And I think, I found with myself, like public speaking was always a fear of mine. And I still get a little fidgety on stage, but I started to think of it less as being nervous and more getting excited. So it's like getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, and in fact, starting to seek out the uncomfortable things.
Absolutely.
So now before I get on stage, I still get nervous, but I just have done it so many times now that I'm like, dude, this is just fun. Just have fun with it.
Find the joy in it.
Yeah. It's a rush. So next one I got is, what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
Sure. So I'm here in startup realm, and there's the power of connection is kind of pretty powerful. So like not underestimating the power of simply just saying hello is something that I pitch to people. It's so simple and something that you can do on a daily basis. But I mean, it's a scary thing to do sometimes too, but like it comes down to, it just opens so many doors. And that is super helpful in startup realm because like I'm working with founders all the time, and the power of connection can really make or break a business, which is pretty wild to see and say. But that goes for, being at a corporate job as well, because I used to be at a big corporate company, and, I just didn't network and say hello as much as I should have to just people I didn't know. Like set a goal, one person every day that you can just say hello to. Maybe it's 2 times a week if that's a little overbearing on that one person a day, but just start saying hello, having a conversation, and see what happens, see what doors open up. It could lead to, future opportunities for yourself. It's something that just can't hurt. And the worst they can say is, what's going on? Why are you talking to me? Like, gotta move on. Who cares? Like,
Which is totally fine. That's like, okay, good. I don't have to worry about you then.
Yeah, exactly. Move on. There we go.
Yeah. So, dude, you're talking to somebody. I do like 20 or more interviews a week. So like, I'm all about that, man. Like I'm on that 2-3 a day,
Yeah, and it can be daunting. I mean, it's something that kind of going back to getting uncomfortable with it, or getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So just going from there.
So my next one for you is, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
I think about this a lot. I don't know why. I like asking other people this question too, just because I think it's, it can open doors too. But I think like, who cares what other people think? It just doesn't matter. Kind of going back to you being on stage, like, and having like maybe originally being a little fearful, but if you kind of just go into it, like, I know what I'm here to talk about. Maybe I stumble, maybe I trip, maybe I fall, whatever. But like, it really doesn't matter. Like it's just kind of something that happens, roll with it, move on, and go from there. I mean, like when I was maybe in like junior high or high school, like it's just kind of a time, even like a little bit through college and like maybe mid college is kind of when I was like, who really cares? Like, it doesn't matter. It just, maybe not doing something, maybe not putting something out there, just kind of, being a little bit more reserved. And now that I'm in a new city, it's just like, if people aren't down with, me being me, then, they're not the people I'm surrounding myself with. That's quite all right with me.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you. I think that's the biggest thing too, is like I started to think to myself, why am I fearful on stage? Is it that
Yeah.
I'm actually scared, or is it that I like care about what other people think?
Yeah.
You know, and if you realize that it's that you care about what other people think, and then you boil that down to the root, you're like, that's actually kind of silly. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
It's
like,
liberating too once you understand it.
yeah. Yeah, it is. And another part, and I remember learning this when I was like 20 or something. I read The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
One of the parts he talks about is like realizing like what's the worst possible thing that could happen? Like what's the worst that could happen? And I started to apply that in my life. And
Yeah.
you realize that like a lot of these fears are just like overwhelms in the mind that you just like are like you overthink things. So it's like on stage, what's the worst thing that could happen? Like I literally trip, fall, and like break my teeth or something, you know? And like the chances of that is like very little. But
So
like,
little.
but that could happen. And even if that happened, it still ain't that bad. You know what I mean? They got fake teeth and I can walk,
Yeah.
I go get back up.
Absolutely. Absolutely,
So
man.
it ain't that bad. So the next one for you is kind of going down a different path. In your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
Oh man.
Deep.
Oh yeah. So many things. I think healthy relationships, man, is just super important. Cherish the ones you have. Build new ones as well. Um, I mean, a lot of people, let's say they have financial, like financial fortune or fame or both or whatever some goals are. Like maybe the person who's sitting on the porch after a hard day's work, like living within their means, just having a cocktail, watching the sunset, like having their
Yeah.
family surrounded around them. Maybe they haven't figured out. So like that's kind of what I see. Of course, I've got some financial goals myself. You know, being a young, ambitious businessman myself. I just want to make sure that I'm still cherishing and that work-life balance, just making sure that the people in my life are close to me, my family, my friends,
Yeah.
just the good people that I surround myself with.
Dude, I think relationships is a big part of it, personal and business.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. So now we'll talk about books.
Okay.
So what is the best book that you've read and what's the number one thing you learned about it or from it?
Yeah, a timeless one, and I recommend it to everybody. I've recommended it to so many people, and it's years and decades old. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Um,
Yep.
a major takeaway from it, like that I took, yeah, I mean, a couple, like everything in that book is great, but just kind of listening to others, and not listening to respond, but actually listening to what they're saying.
Mhm.
That's big. So like, you know, a lot of the times, like I'll find myself, and even still after reading the book and you know, skimming through it a couple times after I've read it, I'll still find myself listening to respond, not necessarily listening to like what they're actually saying and some what they're trying to communicate to me.
Yeah.
So that's just something that I try to think about as much as I can as I, you know, in business, in my personal life, just kind of going from there, listening to people, what people actually have to say.
Dude, I think that's huge. That's probably the biggest thing I got out of that book as well. When I read it is before you literally like we do this. I don't know if it's like the way we're brought up or something, but like a lot of us like listen to respond.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not really listening. We're just like thinking about what we're going to say. So if you can actually like silence your mind and fully listen, what's funny is a response actually naturally happens.
Yeah.
And it's more of an accurate, if you will, response than a calculated one.
Absolutely. And that was big. And I read that book when I was like 21, and it was just kind of a game changer. And I realized that like through my 21 years of life until I read that book, it was a
Yeah.
lot of me listening to respond. And I was like, what, like after reading that, I was almost blown away that this is
Yeah.
what's going on. That
Dude, it's,
I need to start actually hearing people, listening
yeah.
to what they're saying.
It changes your interactions with people like
It does.
100%.
Very
Just
much
one
does.
little tweak. um, so my next one for you is what's your favorite quote and why?
One that I find myself saying probably once a week. And I don't know who said it. I had a mentor say it to me one time. It's always a no until you ask.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of one of those things that kind of going back to opening doors and seeing what opportunities are out there. Like, do you want a raise, or do you deserve a raise? I guess is the real question. And if you do, like, bring it up in conversation with your manager, with whoever needs to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Um, whatever it is, it can be applied to business, personal life. It's always a no till you ask. I mean, you see videos of people sneaking into like the Super Bowl or something like that.
Yeah.
They're not asking anybody, but they're kind of using that philosophy of like, well, if somebody turns us around, then we'll go. But like, it really
Yeah.
comes down to the fact that like, if you just keep it inside, you keep it internal, like nobody's in your mind, like reading what you're thinking. Like, you got to put
Yeah.
it out there to the universe. You gotta let people know what you're thinking, and ask the question.
Dude, yeah, couldn't agree more. I always say too, and this works better. One tip that I used when I was younger, when I first dropped out of school, I actually would reach out to conference coordinators and and it was truthful, but I was like leveraging my being young and broke,
Yeah,
basically, as I would reach out and be like, I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. I don't have the $5,000 or whatever for your conference, but I'd love to come. Is there anything I can do to help you in
yeah,
exchange for allowing me to come? Dude, no lie. You won't even believe how many yeses I got. Like, I got a lot of no's, but I
hmm
got like literally about like 100 yeses.
yeah,
Like, I went to so many events for free. It was disgusting.
yeah.
And so, but if I never asked, I never would have been to one of them.
No,
So, and the no's come with it. So either way, and these were like in rooms with people like Tim Ferriss was a keynote at one of them. So you got to ask.
yeah, absolutely. It's so cool to like see it in action too, especially when you're
Yeah.
expecting a no, and then you get that yes, like in your example, or let's
Yeah.
say that you feel like you deserve that raise, and you get a hard no. Well, maybe it's time to look for a different opportunity. Like, why
Yeah.
are you still in this role at this company? Like, there's
Yeah.
other companies out there, and maybe they see the value that you're willing to bring to the table.
Absolutely, man. And another thing to realize too that I always like to mention is like people that are like at a higher status than you, or whatever you want to call it, more wealthy, whatever, they also get something out of giving. Like, giving feels good to
Yeah.
do. So like there is something to be said, like being a mentee, you get to learn and grow, which is obviously a positive, but
Mhm.
don't always think that you're the only one getting something out of the relationship, because as a mentor, it also feels good to give back and help others. So I just like, if you can think about that, like it feels good for them as well. So don't just think you're taking, it's actually kind of an equal relationship,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
when you think about it that way. So dude, love it. Thanks for coming on. Last one. Where can we
Absolutely.
find you online?
Oh, absolutely. Great question. Thanks for asking. I mean, at JHC JR underscore, that's my Twitter handle, or Jamie Cadnack on LinkedIn. Both great ways to reach me.
Perfect, brother. Thank you again.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.